And I will do the screen sharing while I'm recording, and we'll do this one. We'll try this one for a second, see how that works. Okay, so welcome to, whoops, I lost all my pages. As soon as I go to screen share, it just hides everything, which is kind of defeats the purpose. All right, hi guys, November 4th, we are going to talk a bit, if anyone, I don't know if anyone's been paying attention, that this week was Microsoft Ignite, which is their look what we're doing over the next year or two, or the future of Microsoft. There's some really cool things coming out. I haven't been attending all the sessions I wanted to, but if you go to any technology news site, I mean, there's all sorts of stuff in there. So a lot of big push. Last year, there was a big push for the 3D metaverse kind of thing. So that's being continued now. By January or somewhere early 2022, we will actually be able to supposedly in Teams actually have our own avatar. So it'll be like some kind of cartoon character. And then as we talk and say things, it'll have a facial expression, it'll do hands and all sorts of stuff. So basically we'll be replaced by Disney characters is what I'm seeing is going to happen soon. So, but there's also other kind of neat stuff. So if you haven't, like, try and find some of those tech pieces and read about what's coming up. Some of that stuff takes a year to get out, but it's kind of cool to see the direction where everything's going to come in. So last year is when I saw the whiteboard piece that I showed a couple months ago, where I can be writing on the whiteboard, then I stand in front of it and it kind of goes through. You can still see what's on the whiteboard, and I'm treated like a ghost. That I saw last year at Ignite. So it does take, depend on the technology, a year, but some cool stuff. Warnings. Google on your personal accounts. Don't worry about work account. But for those of us that are doing tech support for our parents and grandparents and other seniors and stuff like that who are not tech savvy, Google is now trying to enforce two-factor authentication everywhere. So what that means is if I have a mobile device and on that mobile device I have a Gmail application, anytime I log into a new computer, or I'm borrowing someone's computer and using that, if I log in, it's automatically going to send a note to my phone saying, hey, is that you logging in? So if you've got parents that are not techie at all and stuff like that, what I recommend you do, assuming you have their password like I do, go into their My Account settings, which you can see up there. It's kind of fun having this, I can point to stuff. Go into My Account and you can look at the preferences and what are set up. Because they come up with default and it's on the Gmail account with whatever they have, whether it's their iPad or their phone, anytime they log into a new account, they're going to get a notice there. What I'm telling everyone is go in and throw in other options. So for example, my mom, not tech savvy at all, but she's got an iPhone now and she's got Gmail on there. So if she's traveling somewhere and decides to use, down to the business center and logs in, it's going to try and use her Gmail account. It's then, if it fails that, if they have it in line, they will try and call her phone number on her cell phone. Well, if she's got if you're using like me when I travel, I pull out my SIM card and I buy a new one, I get a new phone number from the States or wherever I'm traveling, then any text messages that get sent to my phone, I don't get because it's not plugged into here because I have a different SIM card. So you can go into the preferences there and you can add a whole bunch of different things as two-factor authentication. So I have a secondary IP phone, so it's like one of those phone numbers you get off the web that you can use wherever you travel. Just use it through a browser. So I have one of those. I have my wife's cell phone, and plus I have my wife's email as a backup. You can also, from Google, generate a bunch of codes that you keep in your wallet or whatever. So when you log in and it says, we're going to try and send you a phone. Well, if I've lost my phone, then I'm screwed, right? But if you have these codes, then at least I can take one of the codes, punch it in to say, yep, I've got this code. It's me trying to log in at this business center. So I recommend whether you've got it turned on or not, but if you're using Google, go in and look at all those other options. Get them to generate that list of numbers that you can keep in a wallet somewhere for when you're traveling. Because if you lose the phone, you're kind of screwed. And for, like I said, for the non-techies, it's going to be confusing. In fact, I was talking to someone yesterday that got the email, and he's like, and he's not, I mean, he's tech savvy, and he's like, I don't understand this. So I had to explain that. So do yourself a favor and your support people, go through that 2FA, get all that stuff set up ahead of time. All right. that is that. Oops, I had to switch screens here, so I'm going to pop this open somewhere else. Come on. Me and my stuff are fighting. My mouse and I are fighting. Someone's got something in the chat there. I'm just going to take a quick look at it. Yep, that's okay. All right, let's get back to where things are exciting. Creating meeting notes in Google Calendar, now available to us at MacEwan. I showed it, I think a week ago, a week or 2 weeks ago. But basically, if you come into here in Google, you create a piece, you go under more options, there is this thing, create meeting notes. So it's automatically going to create a a Google Doc that ties in a link to here so that you can add all of the notes and agendas and whatever else you want to do there. So that's available now here at MacEwan. Which is handy for students. So they should be making use of that. RSS Readers. Ooh, here's old school. RSS Readers basically used to be built into browsers and stuff. And then Google had a great one called something Remote Reader or something like that. And they ended up with, like, a lot of their projects canceling it. But basically what happens is anytime you have a website that has news information, it creates what's called an RSS feed. You can then, and all that is just, here's the news. As new stuff gets added, here's the news gets added to it. As that stuff gets added to it, you can actually subscribe to it from an RSS feed reader. So for example, I'm using Feedly. So I'll bring up Feedly here. So I have subscribed to this RSS feed. So 9 to 5 Mac has one, Mac Rumors has one, Microsoft Teams blog has one. Instead of my going to all those websites every time I want to try and keep up to date on stuff, I come to this one page, and there's a mobile app for it as well. I use it mostly on mobile. But when I click all, it's showing me all the news items. So there's all the different news items here of what's been posted to those websites. And as I go through and read these things, you'll notice here it gets ungraded. And so it'll eventually will disappear from screen. So Apple Stores, if I refresh this, the reader goes, oh, you've already read that. I will take it out of the feed. Not that it disappears, it doesn't exist anymore, just that you don't need to see it in the list of stuff. So when I come into here. So how do you add something like that? Well, there's a couple of different ways. You can go under the plus sign here and you can type in the name of whatever website you're interested in. So maybe I want CBC News. So there I type in CBC, it goes, hey, here's CBC. I could have just top stories, Canada stories, pick all sorts of different ones. The other easy way of doing it is just grabbing the URL of the website you're visiting. So for example, MacEwan Today, look at all this lovely stuff that comes into here. I don't want to come to MacEwan Today all the time. So what I've done, I'm copying the URL here. I'll go over here. I'm going to add this feed. So it says, add a news source. And I'm going to throw in the website link in here. Come on. Paste. That's not at all what I asked for. Let's try this again. Wow. There we go. And it comes up and says, hey, I found this feed from MacEwan Today. Do you want that? I go click on that. I'll say yes. So there it is. Tells me a little bit about it. There's the most recent stuff that was posted. If that's what I'm interested, I can hit follow. When I hit follow, it says, hey, do you want to sort it into a folder? So for example, under Mac, I have these two sources. Under Tech, I have this source. So I can create a new feed here. I'll just call it MacEwan. I'll create that. And under MacEwan, there's MacEwan Today. And take a look here. Outage of PeopleSoft, free webinar, update, et cetera, et cetera. If I click on some of these things, normally most websites are good enough to give you the whole listing of it, so you don't actually have to visit the website. So you'll notice here, if I go to 9 to 5 Mac, I'll look on Johnny Ive, there's the whole story. And when I click more, it does that. And if you get a reader on your phone, it actually will give you the whole, for the most part, will give you the whole story without actually having to go to the website. So it's just a great way when you've got, like me, I've got probably 80 different sources that I like to read at the end of the day. Rather than going to each one of those websites, I can just quickly scan through this stuff here, go, yep. No, I'll read that one. I'll read that one. And then when I'm done, I just click on the checkbox that says, get them out of here, mark them all as read. So now it goes to 0. So when I refresh this, it'll actually, it was that one source. When I refresh it, it takes those ones out. So really handy for any website where there's constantly news being updated. if you've got like a whack of them, really recommend Feedly for that. It's a great service. No questions so far? Awesome. Standout presenter in Microsoft Teams. Let's see if this will work. So I'm not sure how much of this, no, it won't work. So here's it won't work because I'm sharing already. So when you do the sharing the screen, you have the option of what window do you want to screen, but also if I want to screen a PowerPoint slide. And when you do that, it's gonna, if I say yes, I'm gonna do a PowerPoint slide, I get this screen down here. Now, what's new here is this part here. This is this presenter mode, and there's my presenter here. When I click on that, that gives you what you're seeing right now, which is me embedded into the screen, but it does the same thing, but it now does it for PowerPoint. So I can still present. I still have my notes to read from as I want. I can click on any of the items here, so I can put a pointer in there. I can do the drawing and stuff like that. But now my big head is also part of that as part of the presentation. So I get to the presentation and all the tools that are in there. Because right now, as I'm presenting now, there are no tools for me to do, you know, a laser or a pen or anything to mark it up, where in the PowerPoint deck, I can do that. One of the things that's coming out right away, so hopefully in the next month or so, is this functionality of the embedded piece will be part of PowerPoint. So I will be able to do a PowerPoint presentation from within PowerPoint, use this tool, and then record directly from PowerPoint with my big head off to the side, any lasers and stuff like that, and get a movie that I can use. So that'll be kind of exciting. So as soon as I hear more about that, I'll let you know. But this is fun for when you're doing these presentations in Teams. Microsoft adds Clippy to stickers. For any of the old school people, this is exciting. Years ago, Microsoft created this helper that would pop up on the screen when you're in Microsoft Word or something like that. And he looked like a Clippy, a paper clip. And that was his name, Clippy. On the Mac, we had something different that was even cooler, but Clippy was still this artificial intelligence that was kind of, you punch in at something and then he would tell you an answer. So under the stickers, there's a new section here called Clippy. I gotta find him, there he is. So this was what Clippy does. So they've added this here with stickers. There's some animation in there, which is kind of cool. Any of us old school people that have been around will remember Clippy. And I mean, he was a big deal back in the day. He failed, but he was a big deal when it came out. Teams chat. You can now assign a task from a chat. So we have the ability in Teams, like within a team here, like I have here, if I had something going on in the chat, I could take that and I could assign that to Planner as a task in Planner. So that was easy enough to do. But now we're talking about just regular chats. I can now go into this regular chat, find something here, and then using the 3 dots, I can actually assign that as a task in my to-dos. So under more actions, it'll pop up. So create a work item is Planner. Create a task is your to-dos. So the difference between Planner is for the teams, tasks is for your to-do. I can open that up. It's going to go and say what category you want it in. So I have a thing here called AV Assets List. I can put the priority, I can put a due date in, I can add the task here. And then when I go into tasks under to do, under my AV Assets, there it is. Can you explain how to cook a turkey? Fun stuff. Last thing is assigning a task from Planner and moving it from one plan to another. Now, this was easy enough to do if all the plans that I were working with are in the same team. So for example, I have, excuse me, we have client services, which is our big name now. Instead of tech support, we're client services. There could be 2 or 3 plans in there that I belong to. And it would be easy for me to move from my task from one plan to another within that team. Now what they've done is they've said you can do it and move it to any plan that you are a part of. So here I'm under a plan or a group here called Testing for Wamik. I can take, so this is that one group or team. I can go into here under Move My Task, and if I wanted to, I go up here, find the team that I'm interested in. So here's my refine changes or whatever I want. Sure, I'll do that. I'll put it in there. I can put it in whatever bucket I want, and then I can move that. And that will now move it from this planner on this team to another planner on another team. So it allows you to really get moving and coordinating stuff. That's it. Nice and short and sweet. Questions, comments? All right, we'll just shut her down then, and we'll chat after.